For years, the questions have been asked. What would happen if young people began to bring the gospel to every corner of the earth? What would happen if an entire generation of Christians fearlessly lived out their faith? How would the world respond? There's only one way to answer all of these questions. Go. So here you are, sitting in a room with a bunch of people you don't know, probably wondering what this whole Joshua generation thing is all about. Well, I'll tell you. So back in 1995, a couple of people named Doug and Debbie Tunney had this crazy idea from God. They dreamed that God would use them to start a movement of young people that would go out into the world to proclaim the gospel of Jesus. Little did they know that this dream would one day turn into an epic adventure for way more people than they could have ever hoped or imagined. So, there they were. That first summer of JG, about 16 years ago, a handful of YWAMers and 20 eager kids got together to see what God could do with a room full of hearts willing to serve Him. They traveled around throughout Pittsburgh and New York City, hitting the streets with the good news of Jesus. Although these were the first JGers to bring the gospel to the nations, they certainly weren't the last. With the excitement of God's Spirit in the air, JG continued to flourish year after year, and more people were being welcomed into the kingdom of God with open arms. It seemed like JG couldn't get any more exciting at this point, until someone had the grand idea of hopping on a plane and spending a little time in another country. This was the first time that JG took the gospel to another country, Romania and Hungary. And that opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for our energized group of world changers. After that, JG continued thriving year after year, city after city, and nation after nation, until God upped the ante one more time. In 2005, God spoke and said that JG was not just for American teens, but for all the youth of the entire world. Soon after that, He directed us to Peru, where we would pioneer the first Joshua generation geared for training the overexcited youth of another country. Throughout our time doing Joshua generation in Peru, we not only saw thousands of people fall in love with Jesus, we also witnessed many Peruvian teenagers commit their lives to full-time missions. Now that it seems JG has reached its peak, how else can we see God change the nations through us? How can God use you this year? And what big things will He do next?